Greetings. If your grading plan includes weighted grades for individual course items or a category of items, you would need to set up a weighted grade column in Blackboard. The weighted column can be set up by selecting the option from the Create Calculated Column menu in the Grade Center. When setting up the weightage, you can select specific columns or assessment items, or you can select categories such as assignments, tests, discussions, and so on. If you choose to set up the weightage for each assessment item, you would plan it out by identifying the weight for each item that is included in the calculation of the grade. In Blackboard, you would select the columns or assessments to be included in the weighted grade and then specify the weightages for each item. You want to make sure that the total weight is 100%. You can also choose to set up the weightage by category of assessments. For example, here the assignments are worth 40%, discussions are worth 30%, and so on. Next, we would need to specify whether the calculation for each of these categories is done equally or proportionally. If the weight is specified as equal, Blackboard will determine the percentage earned for each item and then calculate the average of these percentages. If the weightage is specified as proportional, Blackboard will calculate the total possible points and the total earned points and then determine the percentage. As you can see, there is a small difference in the outcome for the two types of weightages. Also notice that in this example, the total points possible vary from item to item. In this example, all items have 100 as the possible point value. The value of the calculated weighted grade will be the same irrespective of whether it's equal or proportional. Let us set up the weighted columns in Blackboard now. We will use these two tables as reference for setting them up. This table identifies the specific weights for each assessment item, whereas this table identifies weights but for the category. So assignment is 40%, discussions 30%, and so on. Grade center, full grade center, and then from the create calculated column, I select weighted column. And the first column I'm going to create is the one that is weighted for each item. As we move down, this is where we will be selecting the columns. So in this particular case, we have to select the 3 assignments, the 3 discussions, 1 test, 1 wiki, and 1 journal. So as I select it over here, I click on this arrow and it moves that column into the selected columns area. Keep in mind that when I'm selecting from this group, I need to use this arrow. When I'm selecting from this group, I need to use this arrow. So let's go ahead and move the discussions, then the assignments, then the test, wiki, and reflection journal. Each of the discussions is worth 10%. So as I enter the value here, notice what happens with the total weight. It will keep getting updated. And now we have the total adding up to 100%. At this point, I can click submit. When I scroll to the right, the weighted for each item column shows the current grade for the students based on the weightages for each item. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing, but this time we will set up the weightages by category. So we'll call it weighted by, and again here we scroll down, but this time instead of selecting from up here, we're going to select from down here. You can select more than one category by holding down the Control or the Apple key. And then when I click here, it's going to move them on this side. Now again, the test is supposed to be 10%. I'm going to leave this as equally because all my items are worth 100 points. It won't really matter whether it's equally or proportionally. The discussions are worth 30%, and finally the assignments are worth 40%. And I again want to make sure that it adds up to 100%. Now I click submit again. So at this point, I have set up the weightages by category, and you can see the results over here. In an actual course, you will not need both types of columns. And if you want to delete a column, you would click on the chevron and you would select delete column. If you need to go in and make changes to the column, you would click on edit column information. And then from here, you can delete a specific item from inclusion. You can also change the percentage value.